The land explored by our ancestors extends from Altai to the White Sea. The scientific expedition, Trails of Nomads, continues to unveil the path of our forefathers. Its leader is a true citizen of the world. He believes, without a deep understanding of the past, there is no future. Each journey is focused on a detailed study of history and culture. Pilgrim of the 21st century, Sapari Skakov, with a team of scientists, has already visited more than 50 countries. Scientists reveal the exciting secrets of the past. Watch an amazing story of a great journey in the Trails of Nomads program. Today's Trails of Nomads episode presents Trails of Nomads scientific expedition team continues its work in Israel. Sign of Sultan Beibarys, an image of a lion, is depicted on the ancient gate of Jerusalem. What does it mean? A symbol of a person who constructed it, or are there other versions? Mamluks accelerated the development of the postal service. What is the feature of the system? Members of the expedition found the madrasah of Argun, al-Kamil, in mysterious streets of Al-Quds. What is the connection with the tribe Argyn? The success of the Kipchak Mamluks in postal service still amazes scientists. Achievements that took place 750 years ago is not inferior to today's modern indicators of this system. According to Israeli scholars, the postal system introduced by Sultan Beibarys can even compete with the modern one in terms of success. It was even possible to deliver Lebanese snow to Cairo. This points on the speed of the delivery rate. What projects were introduced by the Mamluks to implement such an advanced postal system for that time?
Бұл арыстан қақпасы деп аталады. Неге арыстан қақпасы? Өйткені мынау кіреберістегі қақпаның.
This is the Lion's Gate. Why are lions here? Because at the entrance of both sides of the gate, there are 4 images of a lion. These are the signs of our ancestors, Sultan Beibarys. Wherever the Sultan built, he left his sign, the image of a lion.
Бейбарыстың арыстан белгілерін, таңбасын қойған.
The 8 gates of the fortress that surrounds ancient Jerusalem are open today. One of them is the Lion Gate. On the stone there are images of lions, but they were not built by Beibarys. When the Mamluks ruled, there was no fortress in the city. The old one was destroyed by the son of Salah ad-Din. 300 years later, that is in 1538-1539, the ruler of the Ottoman Empire, Suleiman, built the fortress again. But for what purpose the sign of Sultan Beibarys were depicted on the gate is unknown. Historians suggest many versions.
Тарихшылардың айту бойынша осында тұратын. Султан Бейбарыстың уақытында или Мамлюктердің заманында.
According to historians, during the reign of Sultan Beibarys and generally the Mamluks, there was a caravanserai here. On the top of the gate of this caravanserai was an image of lions. Perhaps Sultan Suleiman simply transferred the image of these lions to the gates of the fortress.
Қақпасының екі жағында тұрған арыстандардың белгілерін Султан Сулейман әкеліп осыраға қоюы.
The caravanserai built by Sultan Beibarys was near this domed mausoleum. This is the assumption of the doctor of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, Katya Citrin-Silverman. The famous archaeologist is engaged in research of the infrastructure of the Mamluks. She wrote a book based on the information and documents she collected. Scientists showed it to the participants of the scientific expedition. I only studied facilities in Israel. For certain reasons, I could not go to Syria. Despite this, I have enough information to prove that the road transport infrastructure of the time of the Mamluks was at a high level. During the reign of Sultan Beibarys, roads, caravanserais, postal stations were built, and in this way a whole system was formed. Thanks to this, the Kipchak sultans could deliver snow and ice from the Lebanese mountains to Cairo. Snow and ice were used to cool drinks. It takes 15 hours from the Lebanese mountains to Cairo, and at that time, the horse was the fastest mode of transport. To deliver ice by horse is resourcefulness. Every 25 to 30 kilometers of the way, Sultan Beibarys built postal stations. There were frisky horses. That is, the messengers changing horses quickly got from one point to another. They put on special signs and yellow outwear, which was visible from afar. Some similar elements were in the state of Genghis Khan. Sultan Beibarys took them and improved.
אז דיברנו על הבריד, ובוודאי...
Under the Kipchak sultans, there were three types of communication. The first is mail transported by horses. The second type is the delivery of letters through pigeons. The third type is communication through signs with the help of fire. The latter was used to transmit urgent information. In my opinion, the Mamluk post worked better than the current Israeli post. Yes, it is worth noting that the postal stations that Sultan Beibarys built were also used as mediator sites. That is, everyone could use them for any negotiations. For this, all conditions were created there. A mark issued by the Israeli government speaks of a high appreciation of the road infrastructure during the reign of the Kipchak sultans. It depicts a bridge built by Sultan Beibarys in the city of Lod. Archaeological scientist Katya Citrin-Silverman, talking about the Mamluks' road transport infrastructure, focused on the history of another object located at the meeting place. This is a small domed mausoleum. The Kipchak emir named Ala al-Din Aydugdi ibn Abdallah al-Kabukiyah is buried here.
כדי זה שאני מתייחסת לצד
Al-Kabukiyah was the emir of Safed. In the 80s of the 13th century, he was removed from office and exiled to Jerusalem. It can be seen that materials from the destroyed buildings of the Crusaders were used in the construction of the mausoleum. In those days, there were such traditions. That is, such a gesture signified victory over the enemy. The Al-Kabukiyah Mausoleum is located in Mamilla in the Islamic era. Including during the Mamluk sultans, this cemetery was considered the largest in Jerusalem. Therefore, there should be a large amount of burial Kipchaks. Having learned the mysteries of the ancient districts in Al-Quds, the participants of the scientific expedition Trails of Nomads found another historical building dating back to the Mamluk period. Behind this wall, on Malot Midrash Street, there is a palace and madrasah built in the 14th century by Sid Tunshik Hanum.
И посмотрите на архитектуру этого медресе.
If you look at the architecture of the madrasah, you can see the use of three primary colors, red, white, and black. These are the main differences in the architecture of the Mamluks. Now we will walk along the wall of the madrasah. This is a large building. It turns out that Tunshik Hanum built it right before her death.
Уже зная, что скоро она умрет.
Tunshik Hanum was from a wealthy family. She came from a Mongol tribe. In some sources, she is called the daughter of Abdullah. Her husband was a high-ranking Mamluk. According to unspecified data, his name was Muzaffar ad-Din. Most likely, this is why the building was built in the Mamluk style.
Здание, как вы видите, было огромное, да, с тремя порталами. Портал первый мы с вами видели, это второй более скромный, очевидно, вход.
It was a very large building, consisting of three parts. We have already seen the first part of it. This is the second part. It is made very simple. Through this door, you can get to the palace where Tunshik lived. And here's the upper part of the gate of the madrasah where the Sufis studied. If you look at the main elements, you can see beautiful patterns and ornaments modeled on stalactite and muqarnas. They are white and black.
Красивый, значит, узор и в очередной раз чередование трех цветов: белый, красный и черный.
In 2 or 3 steps is the mausoleum of Sid Tunshik Hanum. She built it during her lifetime. The architecture is similar to the architecture of the madrasah. These buildings built by Sid Tunshik were restored and used by the wife of the ruler of the Ottoman Empire, Sultan Suleiman, Roxelana, that is, Hurrem Sultan. Since then, this educational institution has been working.
Перейдя в ислам, она поехала на паломничество.
After the adoption of the Islamic religion, she made a pilgrimage to the three holy mosques for Muslims. That is, she visited Mecca, Medina, and Jerusalem. Then she saw that the madrasah built by Sid Tunchik needed repair. After that, she decided to turn it into an orphan school. Until today, it has been operating as an Islamic waqf and artisan school. Children who study there receive a certain profession.
Как школа, ремесленная школа для детей, которые таким образом могут получить профессию.
Another woman with a strong character who spent the last years of her life in worship of the Almighty in Al-Quds is Turkan Hatun. Her mausoleum is located near Malot Midrash Street on Shalchalet Street.
Қазір біздің тұрған жеріміз Туркан Хатунның жатқан жері, мавзолейі.
We're now near the grave of Turkan Hatun. In the mausoleum, Turkan Hatun is the mother of Khwarezmshah. In 1219, when Genghis Khan arrived, they left to Iran, but she was still captured and exiled in Samarkand.
Тұтынға түсіп, Самарқанд қаласында тұтынға түседі.
If Turkan Hatun, who lived from 1150 to 1233, rests in this mausoleum, then she's a Kipchak daughter. Her ancestor, Kunan, is the founder of the Kipchak Khan dynasty. Then, according to the genealogy, there are Samonak, Alibkara, Uran Kiran, Kadarbuku. Grandfather Alibkara Uran settled in Khwarezm and ruled the country along with Khwarezmshah. Thanks to these relations, Turkan Hatun married the ruler of Khwarezm, Tekesh. They had a son, Muhammad Khwarezmshah. Her husband and son listened to her advice. Sometimes she ruled the government, and the second son of Al-Alibkara Uran Inal Chuk Khair Khan headed Otterar. He died defending his city from the raid of Genghis Khan. The fact that Turkan Hatun died in Al-Quds is probably connected with this event.
Осыраға келген уақытта ол кісі ауырып, осырада тұрып қайтады.
When she settled here, she fell ill and died. A mausoleum was installed at this place. The facade was made by architects who arrived from Khwarezm.
Салумен шамасы орындалған.
Judging by the inscription on the wall, the building was restored in 1352-1353. It is also written that here the daughter of Emir Tokhti, the granddaughter of Seljuktay al-Uzbaki, rests. Therefore, there are many versions regarding Turkan Hatun, who rests here. According to some beliefs, she may have been a relative of the ruler of the Golden Horde, Ozbeg Khan. In other sources, Turkan Hatun is the mother of Muhammad Khwarezmshah, or she is also called Terken Hatun. Many scientists, including Israeli historians, support this assumption.
Мен жанымда тұрған мистер Ахрам, бұл кісі Мұхаммед пайғамбардың.
Mr. Aram stands next to me. He claims to be a descendant of the Prophet Muhammad, but I don't know whether it is true. I'm glad to have such a meeting.
Сондықтан жақсы кездесулер болып жатыр.
Another historical site over which there is controversy is the mausoleum of Barak Khan and his two sons. It is located in the Old District. There are many versions regarding who is buried here. The Israeli historian and guide of the scientific expedition believes that the people buried here are related to Khwarezm.
Мы сейчас с вами стоим около мавзолея Барака Хана. Барака Хан был полководцем наемных войск.
We are now near the mausoleum of Barak Khan. Barak Khan is the military leader of the hired Khwarezm army, which existed during the Ayyubid dynasty. For Ayyubids, such a union was very important. So the sister of Salih Ayyubid married Barak Khan. In 1244, Ayyubids sent the Khwarezm army to the cities of Jerusalem and Aleppo. At this time, Barak Khan came to Jerusalem and expelled all the crusaders and went to Aleppo. They killed him there. After some time, the sons built a mausoleum in Jerusalem, but we don't know for sure whether Barak Khan is buried in this mausoleum.
В Халебе его убили. Через какое-то время его дети решили построить мавзолей. Мы не знаем точно, похоронен ли сам Барак Хан внутри мавзолея, потому что прошло несколько лет после его смерти.
Professor Sheikh Najih Kirat, who was the main imam of the Al-Aqsa Mosque located next to the mausoleum, has a different opinion. He believes that the ruler of the Golden Horde, Berke Khan, is buried here. However, as is known from history, in 1266, Berke Khan died during his campaign to the Caucasus and was buried at his headquarters in Saray Berke. It is also known that he was in close connection with the Mamluk state, including with Sultan Beibarys. There is information that to strengthen the union based on trust and friendship, he gave his daughter to Sultan Beibarys. This is the story of a Khan who is buried in the mausoleum.
Дочь Барака хана была замужем за султаном, тогда еще не султаном.
The daughter of Barak Khan married Sultan Beibarys. At that time, Beibarys held the post of emir. Local architecture is a synthesis of architecture of the Mamluk and Crusaders era. A sign in the form of an inscription is visible on top of the building. This is a sign of Barak Khan. Unfortunately, it is not painted, so it is poorly visible. People do not understand this inscription. Many believe that this is an Arabic inscription. In fact, 2 clubs on a polo puck are painted here. A game similar to hockey, but only players play on horseback.
Очень просто. Это игра поло, если хотите, хоккей на траве на лошади. Да? И поэтому это 2 клюшки и шайба посередине.
Polo is a military game, shogun, which is described in the book Kuti Bilik by Jusuf Balasagun. It was played by Turkic peoples, including our ancestors. Later it spread to the whole world thanks to the campaigns of Genghis Khan. Berke Khan is the son of Joly. There is also information that his mother is the daughter of Muhammad II, who left Khorasan. Be that as it may, people directly related to the ancestors of the Kazakhs, that is, to the Kipchak Mamluks, are buried in this mausoleum. Architecture of the structure proves it.
Сегодня здесь библиотека.
Today, the Khalidi Library is located at this place. Khalidi is an Arab family known in Jerusalem. In the courtyard of the building is the cemetery of the sons of Barak Khan. Our ancestors left a great legacy in ancient Al-Quds. For example, this madrasah. It was built by people from the Argun tribe.
Здание построено в чисто мамлюкском стиле. Чередование красных и белых камней.
The building was built in the style of Mamluk architecture ablak. That is, it is an alternation of red and white stones. This is one of the features of the Mamluks architecture. Even if we did not have this information, it is said on a plate above the door, the initiator of the construction was Argun al-Kamili. That is, Argun is the name of one of the Kazakh tribes, Argun. This is mentioned in Arabic manuscripts.
Al-Kamili. Очевидно, Аргун происходит от названия казахского клана Argun.
They say Argun al-Kamili is buried here. However, studies on this subject have not been conducted. Therefore, there is almost no information. As it is written in one of the historical documents, Emir Argun al-Kamili built Bimaristan, that is, a hospital, in Aleppo in 14th century. Also, Emir of Damascus, Argun al-Kamili, restored the gates of Bab al-Hadid of the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem. It is difficult to say whether there is a connection between these names.
Мы знаем только, что он был портным султана.
We know that he was the tailor of the Sultan. Therefore, his sign is a rhombus, that is, a piece of cloth. He could not please the Sultan, so he was exiled to Jerusalem.
Поэтому был отправлен в почетную ссылку, сюда, в Иерусалим.
Exploring the streets of the city, the Trails of Nomads expedition scientists found many buildings erected on the model ablak, that is, in the Mamluk style. However, there are many different versions and assumptions concerning their history. This issue requires further study and research. The work of the expedition continues in Israel. Scientists have found out what buildings and structures our ancestors erected in the Holy Land and also where the prophets are buried.